a political settlement. If those talks fail, General Dempsey says he'll once again face questions about what the American military can do to help the rebels.
Well, at some point I would then be asked for a menu of possibilities, but and that menu will be broad and include both direct action, but most importantly, in my view, things we could do to empower them.
But your favorite option out of that would be to maybe train, arm the rebels, and let them do the job?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it favorite, actually. What I would say is I think that the most effective, the one that would produce an outcome that would be sustainable over time, would be one where we empower that moderate group, assuming we can still find them in that mixture.
Training and arming the rebels, the same idea Dempsey backed 2 years ago. Keep the U.S. military role limited and help the Syrian people resolve the crisis. That could be where the Syria fight is headed. Right now, though, the fight is headed across borders.
I've talked for some time about the fact that the conflict in the region stretches from Beirut to Damascus to Baghdad. And
so this is clearly a regional conflict right now.
It is a regional conflict.
And it's spilling back over to Iraq. This month, Al-Qaeda fighters and their tribal supporters took control of Fallujah, a place where so many Americans died a decade ago. Now the veterans are on TV, NPR talking about Fallujah. Why do we lose friends? Why do we sacrifice? You were there when Fallujah fell. What runs through your mind when you see the black flag of Al-Qaeda in Fallujah?
Yeah, the same thing that runs through any veteran's mind that has served there, which is disappointment. But by the way, not disappointment in what we've done, disappointment in what Iraq has done to fail to take advantage of the opportunity we gave them. Look, the young men and women who went to Iraq won their fight. They did exactly what we asked them to do.
And some of them didn't come home. Later back at the Pentagon, General Dempsey will reach into the box on his desk with the words "Make It Matter" carved on its lid. He'll place in his pocket photos of the soldiers he lost in Iraq. Tom Bowman, NPR News, Washington.
The late Tom Clancy was a hero of American espionage writing, and the hero of his spy novels was Jack Ryan. On the big screen, Ryan has been played by Alec Baldwin, Harrison Ford, and Ben Affleck. Now there's a new Ryan in town. Los Angeles Times and Morning Edition film critic Kenneth Turan has our review.
Jack Ryan's shadow recruit is serviceable, but not compelling. Something that could pass for the real thing if you're not looking too hard. This Jack Ryan film stars Chris Pine as the durable CIA analyst. It's an origin story as well as a reboot. We see Ryan meet Kathy, the love of his life, played by Keira Knightley. And we see how he's recruited into the CIA by Commander William Harper, played by a steely Kevin Costner. Ryan's cover job is with a big Wall Street bank. He discovers that the Russian bank his firm is doing business with is hiding enormous amounts of money. Harper wants him to go to Moscow and audit everyone's books, a situation that makes fiancée Kathy nervous enough to show up in the Russian capital as well.
You lied to me for 3 years and you were good at it. I think you actually enjoyed it.
Can we have a minute, please?
No, you can't.
I would like to talk to Jack.
This is geopolitics. It's not couples therapy.
It will come as no surprise that those Russians do in fact have something up their sleeve. The key culprit is a dour, fanatical plutocrat named Victor, a juicy part that director Kenneth Branagh has kept for himself. Victor may have more secrets than St. Basil's Cathedral has onion domes, but our man Ryan is not afraid to stand up to him.
You Americans like to think of yourselves as direct, but I wonder if perhaps you are just rude.
You Russians think of yourselves as poets, but perhaps you're just touchy.
Once the formerly desk-bound Ryan goes operational in a big way, the verbal sparring in Shadow Recruit gives way to lots of brisk action. Still, there is no shaking the feeling that this group is a kind of espionage film B-team, capable of mild diversion, but nothing more.
Kenneth Turan reviews movies for Morning Edition and the Los Angeles Times. And you are listening to Morning Edition from NPR News.
And this is WAMU 88.5. Good morning, I'm Matt McCleskey. It's 35 degrees in Northwest Washington at 9:49. Time to get an update on our Friday traffic now from Dave Solomon. Good morning, Dave.
Morning, Matt. Southbound 270 delays start at 124 to 370. Continue up to Montgomery Avenue and up to the 270 spur. Eastbound 66 a slow ride 267 to 29. The outloop of the Beltway slow going. The 270 spur to Clara Barton Parkway. A heads up for the District 10th Street Northwest between Pennsylvania Avenue and Constitution Avenue will be closed due to a Justice Department event. It'll stay that way till about 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm Dave Solomon.
This traffic report is made possible with support from Mini, featuring the Mini Countryman. More information available at miniusa.com.
Well, weather today, partly sunny skies expected with highs in the upper 40s. By tonight, will be mostly cloudy, and there's a chance we could get a light dusting of snow overnight for the metro area. We'll have lows in the mid-20s. Tomorrow looks to be partly sunny with highs in the mid-30s. It's time now for Art Beat with Lauren Landau.
Marley Dawson's Statics and Dynamics goes on view tomorrow at Hemphill Fine Arts in Northwest, where you can check it out through March 29th. In the exhibit, the Australian artist explores American material culture by creating work using automobiles, soapbox cars, model rockets, and other objects that utilize energy and mobility. There will be a public reception tonight from 6 to 8. You can see Bill Irwin and Mark O'Donnell's modern adaptation of Moliere's classic farce Scapin, performed at Source Theatre through February 16th. Directed by Catherine Chase Breyer, this Constellation Theatre Company production is set to live music and follows the endlessly crafty servant Scapin and his not-so-bright sidekick Silvestri, as they help their two young masters marry penniless beauties against both fathers' wishes. You can attend a pay-what-you-can preview of this comedy tonight at 8:30 or tomorrow at 8. For more Art Beat, you can visit us online at wamu.org/arts.
This is WAMU 88.5's Morning Edition. This week we heard two announcements that are shaking up politics in Virginia. Former Republican National Committee Chairman Ed Gillespie officially kicked off his campaign to challenge Senator Mark Warner in this year's midterm elections, and Democratic Congressman Jim Moran announced he's retiring after 12 terms. Joining me now to talk about how all this could affect the political climate in Virginia is David Hawkins. He writes the Hawkins Here column for Roll Call. Good morning.
Nice to see you, Matt.
Good to have you here. Now, what do you make of Gillespie's challenge to Mark Warner?
Well, I think it's certainly fascinating. It certainly hammers home the point that Virginia and Northern Virginia have become, as much of a hotbed in the midterm election as they maybe have been in decades. Ed Gillespie has the experience as a Republican National Committee chairman, as a Virginia Party chairman, as a lobbyist, as a veteran Hill operator, as a White House aide. He's got sort of a gold-plated resume, if for nothing else, raising a lot of money and having a lot of organizational skill, and he's a proven messenger, a good messenger for the party. I mean, he knows how to do messaging. That having been said, he's going to have to raise a lot of money to take on Mark Warner. Especially, there are not many senators who can boast of having approval ratings above 60% at a time when Congress itself is in the single digits for approval. So if anybody can take on Mark Warner in a credible, interesting, high visibility way, it's probably Ed Gillespie this year, but he's still got a long way to go to put this into the top tier of races.
Let's turn to Jim Moran's retirement. He's leaving a district in Northern Virginia that Roll Call considers safely Democratic, but the primary they're going to be very interesting. Is there a sense yet of who's going to take his place in that race?
There is quite literally no sense. Roll Call has a list of, I think we have 11 people who might be taking him on. This district is the most demographically, ethnically diverse in the state. It's 43% non-white. And so there are credible Hispanic, Latino, and Asian candidates who are going to get in the race. There's a let's see, we've got a former Arlington County Board member named Walter Tejada. There's the longtime Alexandria mayor, who is the first African American mayor of the city, Bill Yulee. There's the former U.S. technology officer Anish Chopra, who is yet another ethnicity. So it's wide open. It doesn't seem like the political establishment in the district saw this coming. This was a genuine surprise, so it's going to take a while to sort itself out.
Well, a lot to watch there. Meanwhile, just within the last couple of months, Frank Wolf, a Republican in Northern Virginia, also announced he's retiring. You said Northern Virginia is a hotbed for
right. So it's a hotbed. This one is a hotbed because it's where the Democrats' long shot effort to take over the House rests in part. If they can't win Frank Wolf's seat, they really have no shot to do this. That race is still sorting itself out. Barbara Comstock, a state delegate, former Hill expert, is in the race. State Senator Dick Black, an outspoken, more social conservative guy, might get in. Fairfax County Supervisor John Faust is the Democratic leading candidate, but again, still forming itself.
Just quickly, the Senate last night easily passed the $1.1 trillion spending bill. It passed the House earlier this week with both Democratic and Republican support. Can we expect this moment of bipartisanship on the Hill to continue when lawmakers return at the end of January?
You know, I actually think so for a little bit more, right? They're going to take next week off. They're going to come back for the State of the Union. I do still think that the next big debate will be not much of a debate. The next big fiscal policy debate is over the debt ceiling. The permission for the Treasury to borrow money runs out in early February. The Treasury thinks it can extend that for a little while. Speaker John Boehner sent a strong signal yesterday that his House Republicans do not want to fight about the debt ceiling for a third time in this many years.
David Hawkins writes the Hawkins Here column for Roll Call, as always. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This next story began as pretty much your standard contract dispute. The Weather Channel wanted more money for its programming, and DirecTV, which distributes it, wanted to pay less. So at 12:01 Tuesday morning, the satellite service dropped the Weather Channel and replaced it with a smaller producer of weather programming, which raises the question, how much do TV viewers really want or need weather information when they can get it from other sources? NPR's Mandalit Del Barco reports.
During negotiations, the Weather Channel's star meteorologist Jim Cantore made a direct appeal to viewers.
Only the Weather Channel is committed to telling you the entire story to make sure you're informed and safe before, during, and after the worst of it. DirecTV thinks that their subscribers can do without this life-saving information and has dropped the Weather Channel. Don't let DirecTV control the weather.
The independent channel based in Atlanta had asked DirecTV to pay a penny more for each subscriber, arguing it acts as a public service or a utility. But DirecTV disagreed, says spokesman Robert Mercer.
The Weather Channel has embarked on this elaborate, dramatic sky is falling campaign. But they're not the only ones who can report the weather.
DirecTV has now replaced the Weather Channel with Weather Nation, a back-to-basics channel with local temperatures and forecasts.
Check out some of these wind gusts. 60 to 70 miles an hour.
The Twitter sphere exploded, with fans and representatives from both companies tweeting furiously. The Weather Channel has blasted its replacement as a, quote, cheap startup that does weather forecasting on a 3-hour tape loop. Here's distribution president Jennifer Dangar.
They would not pay the penny, and they would rather put something, subpar up, and their customers are not going to have access to the best, most accurate information.
32 years ago, the Weather Channel made its debut on cable TV, and that was thrilling for an entire generation of self-professed weather geeks like Mark Sudduth. At the time, he was 11 years old.
My parents referred to me as obsessed. I mean, I would, when the tropical update would come on at 10 minutes before the hour, get out of my way because I am going to make sure I caught that tropical update. And then even the local forecast, the locals on the 8th, it catered to those who were into the weather like nothing else.
Sudduth says he was hooked, watching meteorologists and storm chasers track hurricanes and tornadoes and blizzards from the studios. It was even more exciting when they reported from the field.
It was great because it was weather 24 hours a day.
Watching guys like Jim Cantore and John Hope explain severe weather patterns even inspired Sudduth to start his own successful website, hurricanetrack.com. Then, he says, something changed. When there wasn't severe weather, the channel began playing movies and reality shows about things like ice fishing.
Oh, yeah, there's a dandy. Look at that jumbo. That's a Devil's Lake jumbo right there.
And a new show called Freaks of Nature.
Steven's going to do a 90-foot dive into this 15-foot deep pool.
Sudduth says he and others were turned off.
That weather is not entertainment. It's very serious. And I think them drifting away from that may have hurt them.
DirecTV spokesman Mercer says some of its customers made similar complaints.
They enjoy watching weather news without having to wade through a sea of reality TV shows.
He points out that there are so many more sources of weather news and information now on internet websites and smartphone apps. Another network, AccuWeather, announced it will soon go live 24/7 on cable. And the Weather Channel still has a strong presence online and remains available to many cable subscribers. But on DirecTV, it's gone with the wind. Mandalit Del Barco, NPR News.